All right, yesterday we started playing around with some functions, and we said that a function is a rule that takes an input and matches it to an output. All right, well, today we're going to be a little bit more specific because a function actually does something even more specific. It takes an input and maps it to exactly one output. All right, so my example for this is always birthdays. All right, so each person in the world gets exactly one birthday. All right, you can't have more than one birthday. So if I go to Applebee's on September 25th and I say, oh, today's my birthday, and they give me a free cake, all right, and then I go on March 1st and say, oh, today's my birthday, and they give me another free cake, I just told a lie to get extra cake. All right, you get one birthday per person. But lots of people can have the same birthday as me. All right, so I want you to jot this as an example. Okay, a people, let's say person, gets mapped to just one birthday. But other people, so let's say person number 2, can have the same birthday as me. All right, and then a third person, if they want, can have a birthday as me. So if you're ever confused as to whether something is a function or not, you can actually kind of go back to this example. That people mapping to birthdays is a function. All right, so let's actually fill in these blanks. So the function definition is super specific and super picky. All right, so each x, okay, and we typically call them x's, but I want you to put the word input, is mapped to exactly one output, not more than one. All right, so we're going to put exactly one y. I want you to write above that or f of x or output. Okay, each x gets exactly one y. All right, so let's actually apply that to our function rule. Maybe that'll make a little bit more sense. All right, so here's the deal. I've got this type 1. I've got f of x equals 2x minus 4. So I'm taking f of x and I'm defining it as 2x minus 4. And so the example is, let's try putting in f of 2. So if I put in a 2 for x, 2 times 2 minus 4, I get 0. F of 2 equals 0. And here's the deal. What we're saying is that a function can only produce this one result. If I put in a 2, I always get a 0. If I put in a 2 tomorrow, I always get a 0. No matter how many times I substitute a 2 into this function, the answer will always be exactly the same. So my input of 2 is mapped to exactly one output. So input exactly just the one output, and it can never be a different output. So if later I say, so like if I get f of 2 equals 0 and someone gets f of 2 equals 6, somebody's wrong here. So if this person's wrong, this person's right, and that's the only way that that can come out. All right, so if you're seeing a definition, f of x, and it's just equal to just a simple expression, that's always a function. You don't have to worry about that. That's always a function. All right, so the next most common example is type 2, where they give you a set of points. So it'll look like this. It'll say f of x equals, and then it'll have squiggly brackets around your set of points. All right, and all that you have to make sure is that each x gets only mapped to one y. So 5 goes with 6, 2 goes with 8, 1 goes with negative 5. All right, so there's no repeating of x's that go to two different numbers. All right, so this is a yes, and then they'll ask you to explain. So is this a function? Yes, and you'll say each x is mapped to, you can say exactly or only one y. Okay. All right, now that's different than over here, this non-example. All right, and let me show you what the problem is. Here, do you see that negative 2 goes with 4, and then later negative 2 goes with 6? That's horrible. That's bad. This is Mrs. Smith lying about her birthday to get extra cake. All right, negative 2 went with 4. I said my birthday was this day, and then later I said it was a different day. So I'm telling a lie. So we'll say no. And then we'll say negative 2 is mapped to two different values. All right, now, so for this function, these function questions, they're going to ask for an explanation. All right, so my recommendation to you is to memorize this. Yes, each x is mapped to only one y. That's the definition of a function. All right, and then if it's a non-example where it's not true, you say no, and then you point out the value that's mapped to two different values. All right, so I want you to look here at A and B on your own. All right, so see if you think it's a function and then tell why or why not. All right, so I'm giving you a second to pause the video. Please make sure that you pause. Try A and B on your own. All right, so for A, I hope you guys did not get tricked. A is still a function, all right? So even though 4 goes with 1 and then 5 goes with 1, that's okay, all right? It's just that you can't repeat an x to two different y's. So 4 goes with 1, 5 goes with 1, 6 goes with 2, that's okay. Each x is mapped to just one y. All right, so this is like me having the same birthday as somebody else. That is okay. All right, so 4 can go with 1 and 5 can go with 1. That's two people sharing the same birthday. That's fine. All right, but on B, when I have -1 goes with 0 and then -1 goes to 7, that's not a function anymore. Alrighty. All right, so let's do C together. So it says, what value of K would make the following sets not a function, and explain why. So this word explain means that we're going to have to write a sentence at the end. All right, so 4 goes with 5, 8 goes with -3, -10 goes with 0. All right, so I have to pick something that would be a different x, so an x value that I already used going to something other than 5. So my options here for k actually could be 8 or -10. So if I say 8, k equals 8, that means 8 went with -3 and then later 8 went with 5. That's bad. I could also say k can't be -10 because -10 is already paired with 0. All right, so -10 can't later be a 5. All right. The other thing I can't use here, though, is k equals 4. If I later say 4 goes with 5, well, 4 already went with 5. That's okay. That's like I said my birthday was March 1st, and then later again I said, yeah, my birthday's March 1st. All right. So k can be 4. It just can't be 8 or -10. All right, so let's stick with k equals 8 because then let's say 8. Oh, that's a horrible 8. 8 would be paired or mapped to two different outputs, to two different outputs. Okay, make sure you understand that. So make sure that you know the difference between, and this is the one that they'll get you with all the time, where they'll have 4 go with 1, 5 go with 1, and they'll try and trick you and think that that's not a function, but that definitely is. And then here in the same problem, they'll have -1 goes with 0, -1 goes with 7. That's the one that's not a function. So most often in these problems, what they're going to do is they're going to give you a set of 4 things, and they'll say, tell me which one of these is not a function. All right, so on the back is the third type that they're going to ask you. It says, determine whether a graph represents a function. So they'll give you a graph like an A, B, or C, and they will want to know whether or not that thing is a function. All right, and so this is the vertical line test. So last year, this is one of the things that the 9th graders remembered from Mrs. Booth's class, so maybe this will be a thing that you guys remember too. So, the vertical line test. All we're asking is there a place on the graph that would cross a vertical, which is an up and down line, just in case you don't know, more than once? All right, so I need to be able to draw that vertical line anywhere on the graph and not cross more than once. So in A, if I draw my vertical line, that vertical line hits the graph 1 time. Okay? If I draw a different vertical line right there, that hits it once. If I draw a different one, it hits it once. So no matter where I draw this vertical line, I only cross the function or the graph, this blue line, one time. So this thing passes the vertical line test. All right. So we say yes, it's a function. All right. B fails the vertical line test. Okay, so look, there's a spot right here. If I cross my vertical line right there, I've bumped into the function, which is that circle, more than one time. So this is a fail. Okay, so it is not a function. All right, now down here on C, okay, if I draw the line here, I hit it once. If I happen to draw the line over here, I hit it once. If I draw the line here, I hit it once. Draw the line here, hit it once. All right, so you don't need to draw multiple lines, but it matters that no matter where you draw that line, you'll only hit the graph once. So this is a pass of the vertical line test. All right, so I just want to think for one moment, and we want to explain why the vertical line test is even a thing. Why is that the test? All right, and it has to do with right about here when I draw my vertical line through these 2 points. Let's actually label these points. So this point up at the top here is called 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2. So it's over 4 up 2, or 4, comma 2, if I were to write it out in ordered pair. Same thing with this one on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then down 2 is the point 4, negative 2. So notice when I do this, I've got a point 4 that has gone to 2 different outputs. All right, so I've got 1 single x on that line, x equals 4, going to a 2, and then later going to a negative 2. So this vertical line that goes through that x equals 4 makes this fail because I've got 2 different outputs. All right, so 3 things that you have to know. Number 1, you have to know that the vertical line test tells whether a graph is a function. All right, if you can draw a vertical line and touch the graph twice, it fails the vertical line test and it's not a function. You have to be able to tell when you've got a set of ordered pairs that no x value, so no x value can go to 2 different y values. All right, and then the third thing, you have to know that almost all things that are defined like f of x equals x squared plus 2, these are almost always functions. It's so rare that it's not a function that we don't even have to discuss it right here. If you see this, you can assume that the thing is a function. All right, so you're going to practice. There's a bunch of multiple choice questions, and you're going to practice your explanation of what is a function. So you have to be able to regurgitate a function as a function because each x is mapped to exactly one y.